In the midst of heavy traffic, Francis, known as Franz, along with his son Roy and their beloved dog Joni, experienced a traffic jam. They set off to meet the doctor treating Roy's mother, who was ill. Roy wanted to get out of the car to have fun with his friends playing PlayStation, but Franz reminded him that his mother's health was far more important than momentary pleasure. As they argued, an ambulance suddenly shook and a half-bird humanoid attacked the officers. Although the incident was frightening, they didn't panic as they were used to seeing humans transform into other creatures. Surprisingly, the bird human didn't attack Roy and Franz. Finally, they arrived at the hospital and the doctor explained that Roy's mother was infected with the mutant virus, already at 70% towards its original form. When they visited Roy's mother, Franz asked Roy to meet her even though Roy was still traumatized. Eventually, Roy decided to face her. The next morning, they moved to a village near the mutant shelter center to be closer to Roy's mother, even though their new home was on the edge of the forest. In the new school, many students were curious about Roy's background, including Nina. Roy stopped by the traditional cafe where his father worked after school, a place where Franz became a famous chef. That night, a stormy rain struck the village, knocking out the lights in Franz's house. As Roy helped fix the switch, he caught sight of a mutant figure that suddenly vanished when the lights came on. The next morning, Franz and Roy cleared the debris of fallen trees from the storm. However, Franz received news of a vehicle accident involving Roy's mother and dozens of other mutants. At the accident site, the police found one mutant body and realized that 40 mutants, including Roy's mother, had fled. Franz returned home, prepared traps, hoping his wife would be lured and they could reunite. The following day, Roy participated in a tug-of-war competition at his school, showcasing his extraordinary strength. However, he began to feel something odd about himself as his strength could pull 5 people. After pulling out a claw that appeared on his finger, Roy was shocked to see his spine protruding. Fear engulfed him, and he realized he might be infected with a mutagenic virus like his mother. Meanwhile, Franz met a policewoman who promised to help find his wife at the supermarket. A commotion ensued at the fish market when an octopus mutant stole fish but was apprehended by the police. Franz also encountered a young pangolin-shaped mutant under a table. The next morning, Franz wanted to search for his mother in the forest, but Roy had to attend his friend's party. Roy asked Franz to look for his mother the next morning.
Il faut que tu dormes.
At his friend's party, Roy accidentally exhibited his animalistic behavior, arousing suspicion among his friends, then went to the forest. The next morning, Roy woke up on the lakeside with no memory of how he got there, then found bird feathers in his mouth. He might have preyed on a bird in his unconscious state. After they had bathed, Roy and his father decided to search for Roy's mother in the forest. Along with Joni, they searched on until nightfall, even playing Roy's mother's favorite song in hopes of calling her. In the midst of the forest, Roy was startled by an attack from a bird mutant and a chameleon mutant child. Roy's arm was torn and his screams echoed loudly among the trees. Franz rescued Roy and wanted to take him to the hospital. Roy realized his wound was serious, but he didn't want the doctors to see the results of tests related to mutagens in his body. Their journey was interrupted by police securing the villagers' horses. Lisa, a policewoman, informed Franz about the mutant attacks on the horses the previous night. The next day in science class, Roy found himself with keen wolf-like hearing. However, he struggled to contain the distracting noises in the lab. Roy was shocked to find a dead bird in Nina's refrigerator. Nina claimed she opposed mutant isolation in the shelter and was also an animal lover. Roy began to fall in love with Nina after hearing her reasons. Roy fed mutants in the forest and befriended a bird mutant named Fix. He took Fix to the swamp to safely practice flying. Roy helped Fix practice flying in the swamp, realizing that Fix's body was still injured. Fix practiced diligently despite failing several times. Later, on his way home, Roy suddenly lost the ability to pedal his bike, so he had to walk to his father's workplace. He abandoned his bike in the bushes. Meanwhile, as Franz was busy at his workplace, he was attacked by a sea lion mutant when he went to dispose of garbage. The incident caused a stir, but the cafe owner managed to control the mutant. It turned out the mutant was the cafe owner's own sister. Meanwhile, Franz chased another mutant suspected to be his wife, who had transformed into a wolf. After the turmoil subsided, military police arrived to hunt the sea lion mutant. Franz met Roy, unaware that Roy had lied about his missing bike, causing him to come home late. Roy went through his day as usual, training Fix and engaging in school activities. He also tended to fix his wounds worsened by a previous doctor. Franz and Lisa searched for his wife in the forest. Finding Roy's bike amidst the bushes, they brought it home. Franz also found a drain clogged with sharp claws, making him suspect it all stemmed from Roy. When Roy returned, Franz showed him the claws, and Franz tried to convince Roy to ride his bike, but Roy refused, making Roy flee. Franz managed to catch him and tried to reassure him that everything would be okay. Franz asked Roy to show the progress of his mutation and invited him to shave the fur starting to grow on his body. Roy called Nina and tested his hearing. He could hear Nina's voice from a distance. Roy met Fix in the forest, who could now only speak in bird sounds, but Fix showed that he could fly now. Franz was scolded by his boss for Roy's absence from the Harvest Festival, prompting Franz to go home to look for Roy. Franz noticed Roy's increasingly odd behavior along with Roy's growing claws. So Franz attempted to trim them, but Roy refused, leading to an argument resulting in his father getting bitten. At the party, Nina expressed her feelings for Roy after taking him to the cornfield. Then, when Roy went to the restroom, Jack attacked him out of jealousy for Roy's relationship with Nina. Jack used animal reference sounds, causing Roy pain to hear, which made Jack realize that Roy was a mutant. Roy fought back against Jack and fled to the cornfield, pursued by armed villagers and Franz trying to rescue him. Roy was assisted by Fix, but Fix was severely injured in the process as he was shot by villagers while flying. Roy tried to help Fix, but in vain as the villagers closed in. Roy fled into the forest. The government sent troops into the forest to capture Roy and other mutants, while Roy slipped deeper into the woods. Roy encountered his mother, who had mutated into a wolf. They found a hiding place for mutants, but were raided by the military, throwing tear gas. The military captured Roy and other mutants except the chameleon mutant who escaped due to its unknown whereabouts. Franz and Lisa found Roy at the police station. When Roy refused to go to the shelter because his mutant instincts began to react aggressively, Franz punched the officer and took Roy away. On the way, Franz decided not to take Roy to the shelter and instead chose to release him into the wild to live undisturbed. While reminiscing about the past, Franz and Roy were chased by the police. Eventually, Franz urged Roy to flee into the forest to live freely, and the movie ends.